So, hi. Well, I'll start off with a little bit, about the storyline, about telling you about Linear X, how we understand it, and how we adopt it for the AR and VR space. And I have to apologize before because I always describe my major job. I'm head of UX strategy. Most of what I'm doing pretty much is constructively disappoint people, meaning they have great ideas, and I have to tell them how to make it really great ideas, and not that it's not a good idea to just use the Excel data and put it on HoloLens as it is. It's not a good idea. So let's look into UX services in the first place, how we understand it. Maybe all this tripod we have. We talk about usability, we talk about the design, we talk about engineering, and all this stuff, which is pretty much core when you do a holistic approach to all aspects of designing for a good user experience and design for ergonomic products or services or even systems. We don't have to differentiate that. But unfortunately now every different discipline, when you have a kind of not a fundamental approach, common understanding what human-centered design is about, and you're pretty much under pressure of the analysis, and then suddenly you have to add a concept work to that, and well, of course, then visualize the stuff and specify the stuff and then implement it. So your idea have a great project with everything you should do on human-centered design is pretty much gone. It looks like crap. And the idea is to apply the Linear X towards a more strategic approach. It's not just a development idea or by itself the rationale or the solution to everything. It's more like an understanding that you can enrich your activities with the Linear X idea. It's pretty much like also we do design thinking as a management approach, or the continuous delivery approach, to add qualities to whatever process you have. It's very core understanding that Linear X is not a process by itself. It's always intended to enrich what you have in place So do it strategically means, especially with new technologies, when you start new, and with AR, VR, you have pretty much new that you kind of make a concerted approach, that you try to distribute the load to different areas and do the services you do within the project, before and after the project, more holistically integrated. So it's not added weight, but it is the work you do itself. So it gets enriched by this different activities like research in the beginning, analysis. Then you do conceptual stuff, visualization, specification, implementation. That's pretty much the continuous Linear X approach. You can do whatever you need at the right time, the right amount of time. The point is, you can stay with that even when you do new stuff like AR and VR, because fundamentally, strategically, it's nothing different. So the new stuff is not that new. It's new, but we don't have to change our processes for that, because step by step, we have to do the right things at the right time. That doesn't change. So first you have to understand that before you can engage to other stuff. So let us look at the challenges we have and why we need a flexible, continuous approach on the Linear X instead of a very written down, you do this and this and this. And this is not agile, we can't do this, Just recently I had a big discussion with a company, an engineering team, and I said, yeah, it sounds great, but it's not Scrum. No, it's not, it's UX. Oh, we can't do that, sorry. Why? It's not Scrum. So this is kind of religious belief, almost with Apple and Microsoft. That doesn't help you, it doesn't get you anywhere. So you can have luck, for example, you have a start and then you have a goal and then a customer, hey, it's cool for this process, maybe what you have in store, maybe it's cool because it works great for this customer. So the next project you're looking into, yeah, lucky it was along the way, you didn't do anything or all of it, but hey, by accident you hit the road. But maybe, and especially with new stuff, it's more like this. It's almost there, but not quite. So the goal you want to achieve is not to be achieved by standard activities or deliveries. And one of my favorite things, and people who know me know that already, look at wireframes. The wireframes, who does wireframes? You know wireframes? Oh. So I'm very famous for the quote, I don't like wireframes, or even I hate wireframes. And you understand, if we look at VR and AR, you don't get very far with wireframes, because which tool and how do you... Okay, no, it's not working. So imagine you have a process, a very defined process. After step 3.1.8, you have produced wireframes in AR and VR. Doesn't help you anymore. So you're not going to get to the goal in the first place. So be flexible. It's not about the wireframe, it's about the goal you want to achieve by producing wireframes. And that means also linear X to produce the right things, to make strategic decisions, which kind of delivery artifacts you're producing and for whom, who is using the wireframes. And again, as I said, wireframes is pretty much a stupid deliverable. And I'm very open for the discussion after the presentation that you can ask me why, and I can give you information about that. But I have to leave tonight for Munich, so it doesn't take long. But it is an idea where, especially now, we have to rethink our deliveries and rethink the way we work, especially with the new technologies. And Freddie will show you how we even work with linear X approaches to get to a result, helps us meet a user need. So look at the strategy funnel when we talk about new emerging technologies with the linear X approach. Now we have lots of ideas and visions and lots of goals. By the way, as a footnote, most visions you encounter out there aren't visions in the first place, but as I said, I'm constructively disappointing people, but another point. You have different streams, work streams, activities, implementation technology, and maintain this stuff. You know, we don't know yet how the life cycle of a VR solution will look like in the future, because they're pretty much newborn babies in the first place. So we have very few indications of VR solutions that have been on the market for 10 years, obviously. There are some, but most of them, but that's pretty, we're learning all the time. So we have to planning, also learning how to deal with that for the future. So we're dealing with this, and then we create a funnel which is based on understanding. You maybe know about the empathy thing, about the design thinking, understanding the first pledge, what is the context of use, the scope is. And you deal with the visions and the goals, and then we develop, of course, in the linear X approach, the MVP and the minimal viable product. We don't want to save the world with one solution for VR and AR. It's about really approaching one thing, make one thing great, and then develop from that. So it's an MVP, the minimal viable product we're dealing with. And it's especially cool because actually we have limited resources on these headsets. We have to take care of what we do with the headset, because we cannot run a full-blown engineering center on it. We have to make sure that we don't overload the human possibilities, psychology and the strain, and optimize the load on the human user. So we look in the MVP, and of course the MVP helps us to develop the persona. So it's really using that, and we go into that a little bit detail. It is not as easy as we think. Then we, of course, we talk to these people, we look into that, what they really want, what they really need, and it's not what they really want to do, this what they need, and then we develop user needs, and then we develop the user stories, which is pretty much the same as a user requirement for them. So we see what we have to do. And always we have to start with assumptions. Again, this whole thing on UX for AR and VR is so new, we have not a consensus that it's always a baseline of design principles that are different from the core design principles we know in the standards already. Maybe we expect they will be the same, but we are expecting new things coming up and maybe evolving and maybe interpreting them differently in the future, like detectability, legibility, and unambiguity, for example. So, and how to do that? How to transport the MVP into a human-centered design approach, and the continuous UX process we apply is pretty much stay where we are. Organization of lots of stuff, but maybe you don't need everything. You go into detail, maybe just a view. So you do it simultaneously and model the project you need according to the requirements you have to meet your goal. And maybe if it's a big one, you can even synchronize and make a different work streams to work hand in hand. And especially in new technologies, we're dealing with visualization technologies and lots of efforts in 3D animation and models. We have to synchronize and harmonize the activities to avoid the waterfall thing. So I have to wait for the 3D model until I go to the next step. So let's work on the lean side, meaning step by step, and make it happen that people are forced to work together in the different activity streams, that people are really engaging new solutions, and therefore evolve that. The core element of the continuous UX and the linear UX approach we have is pretty much lightweight artifacts, the MVPs and the user stories. So it's pretty core, the user story. Always try to take the user with you from the beginning and try to meet exactly that user story as a vehicle, pretty much. You try to use as defining the design decisions, but also for verification and validation. And there's a difference, yes. To check if you're on the right path, because especially AR and VR, we have to learn so much. And even remember that when we look at one user story that might completely a different user story in the result in the VR solution and in the AR solution. So there might be differences. We expect differences, and very technology driven because the technology is evolving so fast. Last but not least, on this side, it's very essential also to talk to interdisciplinary teams. It's very easy, and it's also what I encountered very often, that you're dealing with, sorry for that, technology-only teams. So you have one guy who is doing UX-ish things, but pretty much everyone is an engineer, which is not bad in the first place, because I've just recently learned in the newspaper that engineers are also human beings most of the time. But that's not the team I need. And I recall the time I was at Microsoft, you know that, and so a job opening at the time, they're looking for UI artists. Well, such a job position in Germany, unthinkable, but this is what you need. You need new creative minds to develop new experiences for this kind of very immersive views. So it's not what I'm looking into the future. I want to work with engineers only on such a project. No, it has to be a team from different people, and that even is also required in the standard on human-centered design. You have to work with different disciplines. It's the only way to do it properly. So again, rethink what you're doing, and the continuous lean UX requires you also, from our understanding, a mandatory thing to work with different disciplines. And even I, and I'm admitting it, I'm working with engineers. Sorry, good. Just kidding. So AR and VR, so what are we dealing with? And now we are getting into the problems, because I said, and the solutions. We did a project with, and it's also on the website, you can check it out at centigrade.de, on Festo, and where we merged the real world, the real facility plant, and the data we used for a VR and AR solution. So you can look at the machine, you see what's running there, you see an error occurs, you can go there, you can monitor, you can control it. And we also did, and that's the cool stuff, my colleague also did a usability test. So we checked up how this really has been perceived by the people, and therefore we had a system usability scale result of in there, which is a good A, which is a 1 in German. So it's pretty good. So everything below 70 is not very good. Everyone to reach more than 70, but we met around 90, which is pretty good, because that's really a great result. The 86 is a very good feedback on the completely new experience. You must imagine these people have never encountered something like that before, and the result, like shying away from new stuff, was pretty encouraging. So we know when we do it properly, we succeed. We make people really happy. They are really satisfied, which is a core quality for user experience and usability. So satisfy people and meet their requirements, meet their goals. But we also have to deal challenges. This is not the real world yet. This is not out there in tens of millions. No, we have to deal with the challenges. And the challenges are multifold, many of them. One of the core challenges, when I'm asking you, what is one of the core challenges in AR and VR for the user? What would you ask? Tell me. I'm asking you, Ran. What would be one of the core challenges when we talk about projects in AR and VR for a user? For a user, not for technology purpose. What do you think? Navigation. Interesting, Freddy will pick up that one, but it's not one of the core things which are very core to the user in the first place. It's very contextual, but it's a good one. Mark the name maybe of the lady when she's not, just kidding. Okay, what do you think? The device? What do you mean with the device? You have to carry a device. A close call, yeah. One of the things is pretty much it's in so-called invasive technology. Invasive means it is at my body. You can even but it's not in the body, but invasive, I have to wear it. So you and I wear glasses, we are used to, but people are not wearing glasses, they feel a bigger step for them. Especially when you have been to a trade fair or show, you had to wear the sweaty thingy, you know, it's not your device. And it's not what you want to do all the time, 8 hours a day. So it's a very invasive thing to wear a device. especially in AR VR, you have to wear it on top of your head. And it's an unknown experience. You can imagine there's a HoloLens, there's a daycare helmet, there's a smart glass. They're different things. They all feel different. Of course, they're different products. And there's also limited field of view. You're not used to have this kind of limited field of view. It makes people already get anxious about this because they're only like this. It's not helping. All this stuff is an added strain to the human being. By definition, not ergonomic. So we have to deal with that. Our job as human factors guy is to optimize the load on the human being. So we have to deal exactly with that. So we have to be a holistic approach. We have to look at the device as well. We're not only designing the interface, we're designing the whole user experience. There's no way to shy away from the hardware stuff as well. We have to deal with that. Is it tethered, untethered? So, and then again, another thing, and the biggest challenge is not the technology. The technology is not the problem, but the marketing guys. They're selling all the time, well, AR is great, the next generation, it's increased visibility, improving sales, new business. No, it's not. That's bullshit. It's by itself, AR doesn't sell anything. AR doesn't solve anything. There's no way that this time, finally, technology saves the day. No, it does not. Never has. So sorry, marketing guys, go out. When we're dealing with virtual realities, virtual is not there. So it's cool because we can design pretty much everything, but it's not there. Even if I have a great view and a great experience on a landscape on a foreign moon, it's not there. It's just fake, which is, okay, I have to understand this. So next thing is, we have a very long-term history of very successful VR. We call all the games like racing games. This is also VR, but not 3D, but it's VR. We're used to that. We love it. We even get addicted to that, if it's very good. It's very, 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 and I repeat it again, very successful. So we have the augmented reality, which is always there. Reality is always there, it's always part of the game. And to be honest, most people don't like that. Because I don't control reality. Just as a small example, I have this little tin on the table. I design the tin with the data, but I don't design the table. Maybe you're stupid enough to use another table with glass top, so it looks creepy. So your fault. Or Stephanie's fault. Where's she? Whatever. But the thing is really, you don't own the reality. So you have to deal with it face to face and on eye level, which makes some people really uneasy because they don't control it. With virtual reality, you control everything, but AR is a little bit more creepy. In the good old times, it was a little bit different. In the good old times, you had the opportunity to use a tablet with a camera, and you had a nice car, and then you had the tablet, and you saw some points of interest. Well, where's a major drawback? Who sees the major drawback? With that one, the old times? Well, you need a car, okay. That's not a problem. Every man is a car, no, just kidding. What is the problem? Yeah, you have to use your hands all the time. You can't do anything, you have to have all the time you're doing this. There's no way to interact with it properly. And again, in the HoloLens with a limited field of view. So you have now both hands, but limited field of view, and why is that so small, and can it be bigger, and how long I have to wait, and I need more colors, whatever. And the other thing is also technologies. So you want to be lean on technologies as well. You have to decide either it's tethered, untethered. So it's not a thing that augmented reality is always untethered. It's not that easy because we're expecting more and more devices who will be either untethered or tethered, or with an out cable. And then running time, battery time. And of course, my favorite slide is, of course, then the technologies. Which kind of technologies? I want to be lean, so I lean on just one technology or not. And many discussions are evolving around that. Which is the right platform? Which one is the right authoring tool for creating this immersive experiences? And you can argue tons of days about that, but it's not really important. Because whatever you use, you have always the same challenges at hand, which is pretty much designing for users' perspectives and goals. And from the data perspective, it's always connect different sources and make them meaningful in AR and VR contexts. If it's either ERP data, CRM, SCADA data, expert applications, or more data, you have to harmonize them and make them part of the experience. And help them to understand the benefit and the really added value, if there's any, on AR and VR. As I said, I'm constructively disappointing people. Now, Freddy will show you a real-life example where we try to help and meet a user need. Freddy?
Test. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. No? Okay, thank you, Clemens, for giving us an introduction of the continuous UX process or cycle, and overview of the benefits and drawback of current AR or VR devices. I'm gonna show you a real-life example that addresses specific problems of a current generation AR and VR devices. So let's jump in. As a design engineer or front-end developer for devices like the HoloLens, the DQ Smart Helmet, Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, we often get the opportunity to get direct feedback of users. And most it happens in context of in-house testing at Centigrade, but sometimes also at demo session at trade fairs or customer visits. And actually, there's always one point of time where some strange questions are coming. That sounds like, where do I have to look? I can't see anything. It's not there where you are saying, or are you sure the app is running or something? So the people are obviously can't see what you expect them to see. So they have problems with navigation. So that's pretty risky because most of the time the people have the first contact with this technology or devices, and if they get disappointed or frustrated, maybe you lose them completely for the technology. So that's a big problem. So in AR, people can lose very quickly, and navigation is not so easy, especially for this untrained people. So what's the core problem of the situation? Or moment, something is wrong there. There's something missing. Oh no. The core problem of this situation, sorry, is actually the limited field of view of these devices. For example, the HoloLens. From this point, I'm only talking about the HoloLens, but other generation devices have the same issue. So the HoloLens has a field of view of about 30 to 18 degrees, and there's no peripheral vision in AR. So you can see only the things that are in the viewport. Everything that is on the edge will be cut, and even when it's over the edge, it won't be seen. So that's a fact you have to know as a user, and especially as a developer. So how can you help from outside of the app? The options are limited, so you can just stand beside a person who's using the app and give voice instruction or something, but that's not very elegant. The second option is to stream the viewport of the device into a PC, and then you can look as a host onto a monitor and give instructions or tips, but that requires firstly a big hardware setup like a PC and a monitor, and second, it sucks many performance from the device itself. So the rendering quality gets worse, and it's not the perfect user experience you want to give the user. Third option is to create a shared app with a spectator mode of the HoloLens. This is the mode where the second HoloLens is mounted on a rig and put onto a tripod, so that you have the vision of a second person in the virtual room seeing the stuff the user is seeing. But even that does need a big hardware setup, even bigger than the second one, and it's not very practical. And when you think on the future, there won't be in real life application anyway any persons who can help you in your field, like when you're standing in a warehouse or something. So you have to help yourself, or the application have to help you for navigation. So I think we have to take a step back and think about the core user need of this problem. And so we imagined our persona. He's called RT-Real. He just always wants to know where he is in the virtual space, and wants to know where point of interests are located around him in the virtual world around him. And so he doesn't get lost and don't have to ask for help. So which options do we have to help him from inside the app? So there's audio, because the devices always have integrated audio, or you can put it on. And of course the visual that I mentioned before. So audio does also have some drawbacks, because it's not always capable for the environment. Thinking of industrial context, maybe it's very noisy, so you can't hear the sounds that are produced. Currently, noises that are in the sounds that are located in the space are not 100% locatable. Sounds can be annoying too. That's a design question, but there are cases. And it could work for VR, because in VR you are in your own world, so you can put on headphones or something, and you don't get disturbed from outside. But for AR, it's pretty critical. So the only way is to put any indicators or visual stuff into the visual field you have. So the HoloLens or the Dacre Smart Helmet have anyway a reticle or a gaze pointer. So this point you have to use anyway to interact with your environment. So our idea was to extend this point for our needs. And so we just looked into another industry, the gaming industry. There are mechanics that are used for a very long time. So just nowadays, at modern games like Horizon Zero Dawn or VR games like Robo Recall, there are always some visual indicators that point into a direction. They show you a direction. They show you a point of interest. Even old games like Wing Commander 3 got this when you are searching enemy spaceships. Yeah. So we took this concept, or this metaphor and brought it to the HoloLens paradigm. So we created 4 points. First, an arrow points always into the direction of a given point of interest. As soon as the point of interest is inside, the associated indicator should disappear. One arrow or one indicator for each point of interest, and all the indicators should be placed around in a certain radius around the reticle to have them always inside. When it comes to implementation of room scale immersive VR experiences, always Unity is the first choice. It's even recommended from Microsoft. So we try to encapsulate this concept I mentioned before into Unity prefab to have it slim as a component in the Unity editor. So maybe not all of you are familiar with the Unity editor. Yeah, that's the screen. So you have many views, like the editing view, the preview. Over there is on the left side is the seed graph, and what's interesting for us is this component. It's in the inspector. So this is our interfaces for our prefab, for our concept. So it's called a target indicator. It has 3 interfaces that you can bind or connect scene graph elements to this logic. The logic is programmed in a script in C#, And what this actually do is it gets or takes a 3D point in the virtual space, project it to the front layer of the HoloLens, and then decides where the point decides, depending on the point where it lies, if the point must be put into your sight, or when it's in your sight, in your field of view, the indicator should disappear. So that's calculated in the script, some lines of code, and the result is this. So I hope you can see it. You can see two indicators that are always pointing to a given point of interest. They are color-coded, the indicator and the point of interest. And yeah, with this technique, we found a slim and fab solution by identifying the user need, get inspiration from other industries, and build a concept out of it, and then get into the implementation to have a slim and prefab, Unity prefab, to integrate it in any other Unity application. So for this, we are fine with this result. But because it fixes a massive issue we always recognize in AR application. But the next step would be to measure this this control, this component, to do some statements about the usability or the benefits. But this will be a topic for other talks. So that's it.